Welcome everybody to another post-commentary duel video. We've got some magical muskets versus pure Mekk Knight. Been a while since pure Mekk Knight has been on the channel, and also speaking of magical muskets, that deck profile is up on the channel. So if you guys want to see the magical musket deck profile from one of my friends at Locals, feel free to check it out. It should be up in the top right of the corner of the video or annotated at the end. So if I see anybody asking for the musket profile, I'm gonna be angry because I just said it's annotated in the top right. But regardless, check it out if you want. But I win the dice roll and opt to go first because I'm experimenting. It's kind of, you know, let's go first with this match. I was playing it off as if I didn't know what I was playing against, just to sort of keep the fair, balanced, you know, fair and balanced look towards the duel, I guess. But I wanted to go first because I feel as though Mekk Knight definitely can go first. At least pure Mekk Knight have a pretty solid play, especially when you're opening up Draconet with easy Mekk Knight plays. Now, the thing that hurt my hand the most was the fact that I did not open a Mekk Knight with Draconet, so I had to search memory off of Ib and play it early, so I was not actually able to get the summon off of the Ib if it hits the graveyard, because I actually opened my summon target for it, which is really unfortunate. That Lead the World Chalice Fairy is in my opening hand, so it just leaves me with a really scuffed play, which is very, very unfortunate. Hindsight's 2020. Should I have probably tried to go on second? Yes. I'm just very unfamiliar with the Magical Musket matchup, and I seem to literally always lose to it, probably because I've like barely ever play against it. But he does have the Shooting Star, I believe that is its name, and it's going to resolve its effect on the activation that desires to summon out Caspar, and then he's going to play Upstart Goblin to get an additional draw. Of course, I'll take the 1,000 life points, no problem. And then I'll be able to use Caspar's effect to add, I believe, a magical musket card from his deck to his hand. Thinking about what he's going to add, Cross Dominator looking pretty good, or the Desperado, but it's going to be the Crooked Crown. The Continuous Trap, I believe, allows you to special summon a magical musket from your hand. And then whatever column it is special summoned, and I believe that column cannot be used on your opponent's side of the field. So linking into Max here with that Shooting Star, and of course going to resolve its effect and either add a magical musket, spell, or trap, or special summon a magical musket, since I only have one monster and only have one set spell or trap, or just one spell and trap in general. I do have a Purple Nightfall coming back to me in the standby phase next turn, which could prove to be handy. Depending on what he has, of course, though. Summoning the Kid Brave there and activating the Instant Fusion now, summoning out a Thousand-Eyes Restrict from the extra deck, of course, taking that 1,000 and then discarding for Kid Brave to be able to draw two, or Starfire. It's not Shooting Star. I don't know why I said Shooting Star. Starfire is the card he discarded off the Kid Brave there. Linking, of course, into the Link Karibo, clearing the Ib, and unfortunately I have no target to summon off of the Ib because it's in my opening hand. I'd rather not summon out World Crown because or World Chalice, World Legacy World Chalice, just because I'd rather actually kind of leave that in my deck to be able to draw into for discard fodder. But I mean, hindsight's 2020, and I probably should have summoned. I just kind of forgot because I think I might have opened actually both copies. I'm not entirely sure. I know for a fact I did open Lead the World Chalice Fairy, so he will swing in with all of that. Surprisingly, not that much damage. A lot of the magical musket monsters are pretty small, thankfully, so it only dropped me down to 44. Keep in mind, I did gain 1,000 from the upstart. So I'm still in this game here. Going to draw for turn. Standby phase. The Purple Nightfall going to hit the field. And I believe that should come back in defense, although it doesn't make too big of a difference because I could just simply turn it to attack. So purple is going to come back, and the thing now that sucks is that he literally has a bunch of like interruptions that he can play on me. This is why I hate playing against magical muskets, because they just always have an interruption. It seems like literally endless amounts of interruption. If you have a board clear, they probably have a negate for it, so you need another board clear, so they literally can't activate any of the things in their hand, because if you can clear all the magical musket monsters on their field, that keeps them from being able to activate their spells and trap cards from their hand, because they all have those effects, even magical musketeer Mekk. So there is the steady hands being played, and after on the resolution of me searching off of the World Chalice, so that will double the attack of one of his muskets, and that will allow him to search, I believe, off Caspar to add Desperado. I'm going to pay 1,000 here for instant fusion. He does have a pop now with Desperado, but I've got to play through it. I've got to keep playing here. I've got to try to do something to his field. Certainly can't just try and leave it there. So I go for the 1,000 Ice Restrict play, much like he did to me the previous turn. Thinking of a card I want to take from him. Do I want to take the card that's going to allow him to draw, the lot that's going to allow him to search, etc., etc. There's lots of options for me to try and deal with right now. I know I don't want to take the max, because if I take the max and I don't clear everything else on his field, I'm just giving him free room to make max again next turn, which is just really problematic. So I activate the 1,000 Ice Restricts, going to take the Kid Brave, and not too much I can do other than make a little bit of a column for myself. Linking it away, of course, putting that to the graveyard, giving myself a Linkuriboh, and now going to attempt to use my Purple Nightfall. He has Ghost Ogre. I have Called by the Grave, and of course he has the Last Stand, which is a counter trap, of course, and it's going to be able to negate the Call by the Grave, so Ghost Ogre will ultimately go through, hitting my Purple Nightfall, trying to activate World Legacy Key now to try and lock out some traps, but he's got Desperado still, so just negating and destroying everything on my turn and searching, so really just having a lot of fun playing against it. Summoning Indigo Eclipse now, though, and then going into battle phase, he's going to use his Linkuriboh, which I was not expecting, and then I'm going to attempt to run over his other monster there, and he has the World Legacy trap that allows you to link immediately upon resolution, and it's going to link him right into another magical musketeer max and allowing him to search too. I'm like, you know what, let's just scoop it up and just go into game 2, and maybe I can have a much stronger first turn setup going against this deck. However, as we head into game 2, I want to mention a quick shout out to our amazing sponsor over at Imperium Duelist. If you guys are interested in picking up a mat like I'm using on the left, or any other amazing 2-player cloth playmats, sleeves, dice, etc., etc., a link to their website can be found in the description below, and a discount code you can use to save 10% off your entire order. Sign Up Mining, trying to resolve here. It is met with an Ash, but luckily you have that clutch Called by the Grave again for it to grab Draconet. And Draconet's going to resolve here to summon out the Crown from my hand, luckily. So luckily that can summon from hand. And that the Ib is going to search me secrets. Now, I think I did open up a Mekk Knight with this hand, making it a little bit better, a lot better actually than that first turn hand. So summoning Indigo, linking into Morningstar, doing the classic combo here, using Ib effect to summon from deck, not using this Morningstar effect, saving it for the second time that I summon Morningstar to be able to activate its effect so I can have the proper discard in hand. Getting that proper discard by way of the Lee of the World Chalice Fairy, which is being summoned off the Ib, which on summon grabs me a World Legacy card, grabbing the World Chalice. Now linking the Lee and the Morningstar into another Morningstar, discarding that Chalice to add a World Legacy card from my deck to my hand. And I think I go for Memory, because I think I also open up Whispers as well. So I'm like, I've got monster negations, I've got spell negations locked down as well, which can stop like the cross domination and the steady hands, which is pretty good, and stopping desires and upstart and instant fusion, some pretty good spells. So I set that there, and actually, I don't think I did open up secrets with this hand. That might have been a different game, or Whispers, that is. So I preemptively start my turn here with the secrets and standby phase, because I don't want to try and resolve this with a monster, like one of his monsters on the field, because this is going to like get Desperado'd or Last Standed, and I really do not want that to go off, because if it does, it's going to be pretty bad. And I'm looking back at this match, I definitely should have gone second. I should have learned my lesson after game 1. I think going first game 1 was like not that big of a deal, but I think now having the option to go first or second, now knowing what I'm playing against in game 2, feel as though I probably should have gone second. But then again, he sets up his field, and he's basically able to just pick apart my board with all the magical musket spells and traps that he opens in his hand anyways. Which, I don't know. It's just hindsight's 2020. He does have the Desperado for the Indigo when I try to use its effect to move. But luckily, on the activation of Caspar there, I know there's a glare there, and you guys can't see it really too well. I have that memory to be able to summon out a new Indigo to that column that that the Caspar is in, so that effect will get negated. And I think he's forced to go for a Link summon here now. And he's going to, of course, go for none other than Magical Musketeer Max, try to resolve that effect, and I'm going to slide over with the Indigo, but of course he has the Cross Domination, so no effects for me. That's two things already just shut down dead in its tracks off the Desperado and the Cross Domination, so this Max going to resolve, and it looks like he's going to use the Special Summon effect going for Kid Brave. Of course, allow him to, I believe on the activation of a spell or trap card, be able to discard a Magical Musket card and draw 2. So a good bit of a consistency booster there, a hand fixer, if you will. And going to play Ties of the Brethren. So going to pay 2,000 life points for that to be able to summon out, I believe, 2 monsters from his deck. I think with the same type and attribute as the monster he's targeting. I'm not exactly sure of the exact text of Ties of the Brethren, but something along the lines of that. So summoning Doc and Caspar now off of Ties, so he'll pay the 2,000, no problem. And I think he's locked out of special summoning for the rest of the turn, is the text on that. And that will also allow him to use Kid Brave, discarding the Crooked Crown to draw into 2 more cards. 2 fresh new pieces of cardboard. And now surveying the options once again. I've got an Indigo Eclipse over there, and I've got a Morning Star on my side of the field. So I'm safe from any battle that he tries to do, any battle damage he tries to do. Because nothing is in the same column as a Mekk Knight. So he'll go to end phase, and my Indigo will bounce back to my hand. I'll draw for turn, and I've got, luckily, a graveyard effect to resolve something to try to bait some negations and interruptions out, and something to help out with getting some hand advantage back. So being able to use my graveyard here is sort of a second hand. So World Legacy, World Chalice resolving, adding Key. I'm just trying to establish Key. If I can get Key on the board, I can start controlling the game with Indigo and stop a lot of these traps he tries to activate from his hand. But no, there's the Last Stand going to negate that. And I can't chain because it is a counter trap, which is really unfortunate. I try to move over to negate his Doc. He has a Impermanence, and that's going to add a, I believe, a Desperado and a whole bunch of other stuff here. I think he's getting a Search. Yeah, the Cross Domination. So a couple effects resolving for him here. It's just like quicksand at this point. I'm linking into Mekk Knight Spectrum Supreme, Big Daddy Spectrum Supreme, trying to hold down the fort, essentially, if you will, at this point. Going to something that cannot be destroyed by card effects or targeted. I'm hoping this will give him a hard time, because at this point in the duel, I'm starting to realize a lot of his effects are targeting. They rely a lot on targeting, and it seems like a lot of his monsters may not be able to get over this. I know he's got that steady hands, and that is really just my biggest worry at this point. So I'm using Spectrum Supreme's other effect, the effect which I feel like is rarely used, but I'm sending a card in my column, in the column that he's in, to the grave to be able to summon a Mekk Knight monster from my deck in defense position. I'm going to go for Red Moon here. Now, hindsight again being 2020, should have summoned the Purple Nightfall. Because that would have allowed me to get Red Moon regardless, even if he would have had some sort of negation for it at the end of the day. I'm not entirely sure what would have been the better option. Summoning Blue Sky, not an option, simply because that only gets a special, the search effect when you special summon or normal summon it from the hand. So I attempt to resolve this here, and it doesn't actually banish for cost. It just targets for cost. So I'm trying to blow up his Caspar, and not the Max, because if I get rid of the Max, he's just going to link into a new Max next turn. He's got so many monsters on his field, and I don't have enough ways and resources to clear all of them at this point. I need like multiple board wipes. So Cross Dominator comes down, and that is going to negate Red Moon. And the only piece of leverage I have right now, and I feel like I probably could have played this game out a lot better have I been more familiar with this matchup, but I'm trying my best currently, swinging in directly with Spectrum Supreme's effect. If it is the only card in its column, it can attack directly, which it is. So I'll be able to swing in for 3,000 direct. So I've kind of got him on the ropes right now. If he does not clear this Spectrum Supreme next turn, it could potentially mean game, because I will be able to attack directly again if he does not deal with it. And he basically needs steady hands with any monster over 1500 attack to get over that. So I think he needs Magical Musket Wild. With that cast bar still on his field, it is going to be easy to do. That's why I was trying to clear that cast bar, because that is the one that I believe searches or maybe special summons. No, that might be Starfire that special summons, but cast bar nonetheless still a very, very good card for him to work with. Same thing with Kid Brave. So many resource generators and recovery generators like Doc to be able to add back from grave on his field. It's just like really trying to hang on at this point with the Spectrum Supreme. Starting off with Call by the Grave. Obviously not in response to anything, but just to get a spell activation so we can use one of his muskets. Banishing that Morningstar. So that will shut off Morningstar this turn and for the next turn. So if I try to make Morningstar next turn, it will be turned off. And I only have one Morningstar left in my deck anyway. So yeah, he's going to use Castbar there to add Wild, normaling the Wild, and linking the Castbar away into another copy of Magical Musket or Magical Musketeer Max. And on summon, going to be able to search 2 spells and traps, grabbing the Cross Dominator, and there it is, the Steady Hands. So he's got Steady Hands with Wild. Wild has 1700 attack. Doubling it will bring it to 34. And on the same, well, on a new chain, Wild is going to activate after the resolution of Steady Hands to recycle 3 Magical Musket cards back into his deck, going for, I believe, Cross Dominator, Last Stand, and one other monster. Might have been a Castbar in there. So he does have the means necessary to be able to run over the Spectrum Supreme. Is also getting a draw off the Wild as well. Returning 3, drawing 1. Doesn't seem too bad to me. But that Spectrum Supreme still cannot be targeted. Using Desperado now to clear the Red Moon, pretty much all he needs to do is start swinging in for damage. With plenty of monsters on this field, Boral Sword is an option, but rather probably keep a lot of these monsters on this field. Doc also activating to be able to add back. Wild's going to swing over for 400, and then swing in with 1,000 each from each of the Magical Musketeer Max. I think like 1,600 from Doc and maybe 1,400 or 1,200 from Kid Brave. Not sure of their exact stats, but nonetheless, dropping me down to 26. I'm going to pick up a card for turn. It's Blue Sky. It's a miracle, but of course, is it going to go through? No, he has Cross Domination. So it's just going to sit there, which is really unfortunate that it actually doesn't destroy the card that it negates, because that would have opened up a column for me to summon into again. He's going to add back off of the Dock. I reveal the purple in my hand and say, yeah, man, you got this. Nothing else I can do. You're just going to OTK me anyways next turn. So Magical Muskets taking that match 2-0 pretty commandingly. Again, I feel like if I would have gone second in game 2, maybe things would have played out a bit differently. I'm very unfamiliar playing against Magical Muskets. I think maybe going second is going to be the way to go. I figured maybe going first I'd have a good chance, because Mekk Knights can set up a very strong board going first with a couple of negates, spells and traps and monsters, you know, playing around with Indigo and things like that. But going second means he cannot max into my field and gain a bunch of advantage. So yeah, I think that's the lesson to be learned. But I definitely want to try and get a rematch of Pure Mekk Knight versus Musket. So that is something I definitely want to do. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. So he's Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.